Hi, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. You're going to get a lot of great information as well as tools to download. Also, keep in mind we build on these tips during our full program. So make sure to sign up for the Growing Forward community by clicking on the first link in the description below. That way you'll be the first to know when our program launches, which will be soon, and it'll also give you access to step-by-step instructions on how to implement everything we talk about and plus more. So in the meantime, take care and enjoy the video. Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of our 4-part series for first-generation professionals on workplace realities. My name is Bernice Maldonado, and we'll be talking about tip number 1, which is make it real, document everything. So if you watched our first video, we talked about 3 workplace realities that we found in our research, and the first one was the struggle is real. And we talked about how first-generation professionals were more likely to report experiencing discrimination and unfair treatment at work. They also reported feeling less valued and were less likely to have social support in the workplace, which is why we recommend tip number 1, which is make it real. Document everything. So if you are feeling undervalued or experiencing some shady treatment at work, make sure to take detailed notes of specific events and circumstances that are making you feel this way. Documenting it helps make it real, it helps with personal growth, and it also serves as historical evidence. Now, I really want to take a moment to really just emphasize that if you are feeling undervalued or feeling like you're being treated differently or negatively, you're probably right. And so it's super important to make sure you take detailed notes of it, dates, names, everything you can think of, because a lot of times we get so wrapped up in our daily work life that we think that, taking the time out to write it down may just take too much time, or maybe, in my case, I know a lot of times I felt like I, didn't want to feel like I was complaining or I couldn't keep up the work, or maybe I wasn't good enough to be there. And so I really did not take the time to document a lot of things that I should have documented. For example, I know there were several times throughout my career where I really was doing work that was above my level. I mean, several grades above, way above my pay grade and above my job role. And those were specific times that I wish I would have documented, or at least, documented it better, because I could have then maybe asked for a raise or a promotion, or even just documented and seen everything that I was doing or could do. It would have maybe motivated me to either leave that job, go to a new company, whatever it might be. But at the time, I was so wrapped up in just trying to, do all of my work, prove myself at work, that I did not take the time to document. But now looking back, that is why I'm recommending this as one of the key tips to make sure that you're documenting everything that's going on. And I know we're talking about feeling undervalued, and other negative experiences, but what I'm going to focus on in this video is documenting accomplishments, because that's just as important. That's also an area where a lot of people don't document. And I think that, like I mentioned earlier, it can help you in a lot of ways, like asking for a promotion or a raise, can help you finish your performance reviews, your performance appraisals a lot faster when you have that information documented. It also helps keep your resume updated. It also helps when your performance is being questioned, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And it also reminds you of your value and worth. I know we get so caught up in the daily grind that we're not taking time to really remind ourselves about all of the positive work and accomplishments that we do mostly on a daily basis. So I think it's really, really important to make sure you capture those and remind yourself of all of the good work you're doing. Going back to when your performance is questioned, one thing I do want to make just an example is making sure that you're also clear on what your job role and description includes. Because I know, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times I would take on additional work, sometimes above, my job level, but a lot of times just taking on voluntary work because, I just wanted to be a good team player. One example was I took on ordering supplies for the office, and I would do this maybe once a month. And I was told it was just a voluntary thing to do it if I had time. Well, my performance review came around and I was given a needs improvement on my performance review. And I asked the supervisor at the time, I said, why did I get needs improvement? and the person said it was because you didn't order supplies on time. Luckily, I had kept my job description, and I said, well, my job description does not include ordering supplies as part of my job role, so why should I be evaluated against something like that? Thing I didn't mention is that also needs improvement would also mean that I would not get a raise that year. So I was really upset about that. Make a long story short, I did make the argument. I submitted a argument against my performance review. It ended up in my favor, so that needs improvement had to be taken off my performance review, and I did still end up getting my raise. So just wanted to mention that because I did keep my job description and I made sure that I kept it because just wanted to make sure that I was doing my job and was doing what I was expected to do. But it also ended up helping me in that I was able to prove that I was being evaluated against something that was not my job role. So just another something to take note of. Now, examples of accomplishments to document. Now, you don't have to document every single thing or every single thank you or every single, positive compliment that you get. There are some key things though that I recommend to document. That includes difficult situations with coworkers or even a project team. So if there's some situations where, you want to make sure that you're documenting communications or what was expected, that's important to document. Make sure to also document when you complete your work on time or even ahead of schedule. And make sure that if you are documenting those kind of things, try to include dates or, metrics. For example, if you finished a project 2 weeks ahead of schedule, make sure to document that. Make sure to document the date that it was due, and make sure that to document the date that you actually submitted it. So making sure you keep metrics on that. When you exceed expectations, so make sure if you took on a project and perhaps, one of your team members wasn't able to, complete something, you kind of stepped in and helped the project move along. Those are the kind of things you want to make sure you're documenting. And again, include as much information on all of these things: dates, names, etc., situations. Just a good detailed information for each of them. Financial goals or metrics, when they're reached, of course, is very important. So if you help save the company money, if you help save them time, if you help save them, a certain allocated budget, that's super important to also include in there. Any recognitions or awards, and you want to make sure to include any recognitions or awards both from your company internally or even externally. I know a lot of us might be volunteering, taking on, additional other things, whether it's, through a nonprofit organization, your church, whatever it might be. Include those accomplishments as well. Also, praise from coworkers or management. Make sure to document those as well. Make sure to take down the names and their roles and what they said. And make sure to keep it in a file, and open it up every once in a while. Remind yourself how awesome you are. So that's always helpful. So what's the best way to track accomplishments? Essentially, you're not going to like this answer, but the best way will ultimately be what works best for you. We're all super busy and we all have our way of tracking things. So my recommendation is whatever works for you. However, we have a couple of suggestions. First one is keeping a handwritten journal. Writing them on your calendar, that seems to be helpful for some people because it helps you also track the dates as well. I know there's a lot of apps out there now that help you stay organized and help you track accomplishments, so that's another option. Using a voice recorder, that might also be an option, especially if there's an event that you want to record right away that just happened. Sometimes just talking it through might help. Keeping it on your personal or your work computer, I actually recommend keeping 2 copies, one at work and also one that you can, maybe have on a flash drive and you can take it with you. And also there's some, you can also use LinkedIn to track some of your accomplishments as well. I know there's a section in there where you can track them. So those are just a couple of options on tracking accomplishments. So I mentioned earlier in the video that there's a couple of downloadables that you get as part of this video. So make sure to download those. One of them is an overview of guidelines on documenting, just some additional tips that we wanted to give you. But also we give you another one on how to document both accomplishments and incidents. So make sure to take a look at that and just keep that at the top of your mind, as you're going through your daily work, and just keep it as a reminder as if you want to start documenting your accomplishments or any incidents. And you'll see with the how to document is it'll kind of just show you the when, where, who, what information to include, and how to use it. So we wanted to include as much information, but make it, simple to use. So if you have any questions about any of those downloadables, always feel free to use our Facebook page, Growing Forward Facebook page, to ask your questions. We prefer you to use the Facebook page because, other people may have questions very similar to yours, and we want to share the answers with everyone. So in addition to that, remember to follow us on Facebook. Make sure to like Growing Forward. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. We have a company page, Growing Forward. And of course, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here and give us a thumbs up on this video if you liked it. And as always, tell your friends. And make sure to watch the next video. We'll be talking about tip number 2. So see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the video.